G'day everyone, welcome back to the ICC Jimbo channel, and in today's video I'll be reviewing one of the most anticipated series of recent memory, the Ashes, as we look to keep the urn for the 5th series in a row. Up the Aussies! Game 1, Optus Stadium, Perth. Both sides will be going into this test full of confidence to get a series lead and start on a high. The Aussies will be missing Josh Hazlewood and Pat Cummins due to an injury. This means Jake Weatherald and Brendan Doggett make their test debuts, while Steve Smith will captain Australia. England won the toss and elected to bat first. Innings 1, England. It was a crazy start for the Australians as Mitchell Starc removed Zach Crawley on a duck in the first over to set things up perfectly for the Australians. Ben Duckett 21 runs and Ollie Pope 47 runs launched quickly with some aggressive baseball style of batting before Australia took another wicket removing Duckett. Stark's dominance with the cherry would continue as he dismissed Joe Root on a duck, as the Poms were in a world of hurt. Ollie Pope and Harry Brook 52 runs, however, wouldn't give up England's aggressive style of batting as they got quick fire runs in the middle, getting 52 runs together before WA local Cameron Green took out Pope, as well as Mitchell Starc removing England captain Ben Stokes on 6 runs. Brook and Jamie Smith 33 runs tried to get quick fire runs for England, but they just couldn't sustain it for long enough as Brendan Doggett, who got his first test wicket, and Starkey finished off the Poms for 172 runs in just 32 overs. Innings 1, Australia. After feeling well on top of this game, the Aussies just had to bat sensibly, and unfortunately that just wasn't the case as Jake Weatherald fell on a duck on debut. Marnus Labuschagne 9 runs and captain Steve Smith 17 runs batted out a difficult phase of the new ball, but just couldn't get the runs on the board as Marnus fell. Steve Smith and an injured Usman Khawaja 2 runs weren't far behind as the Aussies were starting to struggle. Travis Head 21 runs and Cameron Green 24 runs attempted to get Australia out of this mess, and if I'm being honest, they didn't do a bad job getting 45 runs before Ben Stokes took out Head. A silly shot from Green would follow, which meant the Aussies were back in trouble. From there, it was an unfortunate collapse for Australia as Alex Carey 26 runs was removed late in the day after playing a silly shot. The Aussie tail just couldn't get the runs on the board, which resulted in going all out for 132 runs, which meant the Poms had a 50-run lead going into their second innings. Innings 2, England. England would be confident to build on a 50-run lead. However, just like the first innings, Mitchell Starc took out Zach Crawley, taking a massive screamer to remove him. Ben Duckett 28 runs and Ollie Pope 33 runs, however, would bat out the rest of the session, which meant going to lunch, England had a lead of over 100 runs. However, what would follow in session 2 can only be described as amazing bowling and awful batting. Scott Boland and Mitchell Starc would absolutely destroy the Poms' top order as they fell like flies and at one stage were on 6 for 88. However, England's tail would get going as Gus Atkinson 37 runs and Bryden Cast 20 runs would put up a 50-run partnership before Brendan Doggett would not only take out Cast but Archer and Wood for cheap scores. Scott Boland would finish off Atkinson as Australia would get to bat again in the third session of day 2, needing 204 runs to win this match and lead the series. Innings 2, Australia. Usman Khawaja would once again not open as his back spasms would continue throughout England's batting innings, meaning Travis Head would open with Jake Weatherald in the middle. The pitch in Perth lost all its spice as Head 123 runs and Jake Weatherald 23 runs would start Australia's innings off amazingly, picking up 75 runs together in the middle before unfortunately Jakey fell after looking decent. Marnus Labuschagne's 51 runs not out would continue where Weatherald left off, playing the secondary role as it was Trav Ball that took over at Optus. Travis had absolutely belted England all over the park, and Ben Stokes was left shocked as he had absolutely no answers to Head's masterclass. Marnus played his role to absolute perfection, rotating strike and allowing Head to go ballistic and get the runs on the board, which is exactly what he did. Australia looked extremely comfortable, breezing to 5 runs and over, and were looking to finish this game off in just 2 days. Unfortunately, after 20 boundaries, Travis Head's innings had to come to an end as he was caught out by Ollie Pope. But what a sensational innings that truly was from Travis Head. Steve Smith 2 runs and Marnus would finish the game off as Australia won by 8 wickets and would take the series lead going into the pink ball test in Brisbane. Game 2, the Gabba, Brisbane. After easily defeating England in the first test, Australia will be looking to do the same and go 2-0 in the series, as well as preventing England from getting anywhere near the urn under the lights at the Gabba. Michael Neser and Josh Inglis returned to the side for an injured Usman Khawaja and a filthy Nathan Lyon who has been dropped. England won the toss and elected to bat first. Innings 1, England. Exactly like the first match, Mitchell Starc took the first wicket in the first over, and then 2 overs later got another wicket as Ben Duckett and Ollie Pope both fell on ducks. Joe Root 138 runs not out, and Zach Crawley 76 runs put up a massive 117 run partnership before it was local legend Michael Neser who removed Crawley. Harry Brook then got a quick fire 31 runs with Root in the middle before Starc struck once again. Not long after that, Josh Inglis did an extraordinary run out to remove Ben Stokes on 19 runs as the Aussies were in control under lights. Stark's dominance would continue as he took out Will Jacks 19 runs. Alex Carey took an absolute screamer to get rid of Gus Atkinson on 4 runs as Australia were on top of this game, but couldn't get the man of the moment Joe Root out as he got his first Test century in Australia after so many years of failure while touring down under. With the help of Jofra Archer 38 runs, England had a successful last partnership of 70 runs before Marnus Labuschagne took what could only be described as a Superman catch to end England's innings on 334 runs. Innings 1. Australia. Just like the last innings in Perth, things started off amazingly for Jake Weatherald 72 runs and Travis Head 33 runs as the duo played a semi-aggressive role to get 77 runs on the board early. Head had to go due to some good bowling from Brydon Cast, but that wouldn't stop the Aussies as Marnus Labuschagne's 65 runs would continue his great form. He helped Weatherald in the middle as the duo got 69 runs together before Jofra Archer removed Jakey Weatherald. Captain Steve Smith 61 runs then came out into the middle and built a great 50-run partnership with Marnus before Marn sadly fell to Ben Stokes. Then Cameron Green 45 runs came out and with Smudge got 95 runs on the board before Green played a terrible shot, resulting in his wicket. Shortly after that, Smith departed and was caught by Will Jacks, who took a screamer. But if you thought England were back in this game, you were absolutely wrong, as Alex Carey 63 runs and Josh Inglis 23 runs carried on with the runs until Inglis had to go right before stumps. The last hour and a half of play was absolutely terrific from Michael Neser 16 runs and Alex Carey, as they piled on the runs and got some quick runs before stumps. Some quick wickets from the Poms to remove Carey and Neser occurred, but once again this wouldn't be the end of our innings as Mitchell Starc 77 runs and Scott Boland 21 runs not out put on a handy 75 runs. What makes this more impressive is the fact that they were not only getting runs, but forcing England to bowl for longer, meaning we were closer to a new ball under lights. Starc then went for the hit and ultimately fell, but he did his job to absolute perfection. Brendan Doggett was the last man to fall on 13 runs, but it was truly an amazing performance by the Aussies, who put on 511 runs on the board with a 177 run lead. Innings 2. England. Unlike every other English innings this summer, things actually started well for the Poms, as Zach Crawley 44 runs and Ben Duckett 15 runs got the Poms to dinner without any wickets lost. However, the second we got into the third session, the wickets started to fall as Scott Boland removed Duckett. Ollie Pope 26 runs attempted to help Crawley, but both of them were caught and bowled by Michael Neser. Then it was Mitchell Starc and Scott Boland who took the wickets of Joe Root and Harry Brook both on 15 runs. To round off an amazing session dominated by the Aussies, it was Mitchell Starc sending Jamie Smith 4 runs back to the sheds. Ben Stokes 50 runs and Will Jacks 41 runs got the Poms to stumps and the entire first session without a single wicket falling as this duo played smart Test cricket. Australia were also bowling terrifically, which gave us an entertaining session of cricket. The Stokes-Jacks partnership consisted of 98 runs and in doing so gave England the lead back. However, this would end after a Steve Smith masterclass in the field as he took a Superman dive to send Jacks packing. From there, the Aussies pounced on England, getting the prize wicket of Stokes. From there, the Poms' tail couldn't wag as Neser and Brendan Doggett finished them off at the Gabba. Michael Neser took his first fifer in Test cricket with figures of 5 for 42 as England got an extremely low total of 241 runs, giving them only 65 runs to defend. Innings 2. Australia. The task was pretty simple for the Aussies. Get 65 runs and you have a 2-0 series lead. With the rain on the way, the Aussies wanted to get this job done as quickly as possible, and that's exactly what happened as Travis Head 22 runs and Jake Weatherald 17 runs not out got to a quick fire start with 37 runs to basically steal this game immediately. Head did get bowled by Gus Atkinson, and shortly after that so did Marnus Labuschagne on 3 runs, but it was too little too late. Steve Smith 23 runs not out went out to the middle and played a T20 knock to steal this game. It did end with Jofra Archer attempting to sledge Smudge, but then the end result was Smudge champing Archer, then smashing him for 6 the next ball, which was absolutely hilarious. The fact that Archer had the audacity to sledge someone when you were clearly going to lose is simply embarrassing, and I'm glad Smith did punish him and put him in his place. Smudge then smashed a 6 to win this test match and go 2-0 up in the Ashes, meaning they need one more win to secure the Ashes and ensure that the English will go home without the urn. Game 3, Adelaide Oval, Adelaide. Going into the third test, Australia would love nothing more but to win the Ashes just before Christmas as a present to all the fans of the Australian cricket team. Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon returned to the side for Brendan Doggett and Michael Neser. And last second, Smudge missed this test due to illness, which gives Usman Khawaja one last chance in his test career. Pat Cummins won the toss for Australia and elected to bat first. Innings 1, Australia. It was a positive start for the Aussies as Jake Weatherald 18 runs and Travis Head 10 runs got moving, but then things got messy as both players departed. Usman Khawaja 82 runs and Marnus Labuschagne 19 runs got the Aussies to lunch without losing a wicket, but the second lunch ended, Marnus departed, and 2 balls later Cameron Green Duck was also sent to the sheds. Uzi and Alex Carey 108 runs got the Aussies back on track, getting 91 runs together in the middle and looking settled before England once again got back into this game, removing Usman from Will Jack's bowling. After some luck surviving a Sneeko error, Kez and Josh Inglis 32 runs got the Aussies moving, but like every other partnership on day one, the Poms would bounce back as they took out Ingo. Captain Pat Cummins 13 runs wasn't far behind him as the Aussies were back in trouble. That wouldn't stop Carey, however, from scoring as he got to his first century at the Adelaide Oval in front of his home fans. Mitchell Starc 52 runs continued to impress with the bat as he got an extremely handy 52 runs for the Aussies to get further in front of this match. And with Carey striking the ball beautifully, this was a match made in heaven as these two got a partnership of 50 runs. Once Carey fell, however, the Aussies attempted to go for the slog, which resulted in the Australians being bowled out, having a lead of 371 runs. Jofra Archer took 5 wickets for England, which really helped the Poms out. It was a really impressive display from Joff. Innings 1, England. Trailing by a decent amount, England needed to get the ball rolling early, and they sort of did, getting 37 runs before the returning Pat Cummins removed Zach Crawley on 9 runs. The dominance would continue as Nathan Lyon took 2 wickets in an over to overtake Glenn McGrath's second highest Australia wicket taker record. Joe Root 19 runs was next on Australia's hit list as they were stamping their authority over this match. Harry Brook 45 runs and Ben Stokes 83 runs, however, would refuse to go down without a fight and put up a decent partnership before Cameron Green sent Brook packing to the sheds. Some cameos from Jamie Smith and Will Jacks occurred, but it just wasn't enough as Pat Cummins and Scott Boland took care of business. However, when all looked lost, Jofra Archer joined Stokes in the middle and put up 51 runs, as well as getting a 106-run partnership with Stokes, getting England closer to this game. And it was frustrating for the Australian bowlers because it didn't seem like they were close to breaking this partnership anytime soon until Mitchell Starc got that breakthrough of Stokes, and that gave the Aussies a sigh of relief as we got back in front of this game. Scott Boland took the last wicket of the innings, meaning Australia will have a decent lead of 85 runs to benefit off. Innings 2, Australia. Australia's second innings couldn't have started any worse as Jake Weatherald 1 run opted to not review a wicket which would have been overturned. Marnus Labuschagne 13 runs couldn't get going either, which wasn't great for the Aussies. However, we had Travis Head 170 runs to guide us through this tough patch, with the help of Usman Khawaja 40 runs as the Aussies were back on top of this match. Despite Uzi and Cameron Green 7 runs departing, that wouldn't stop Head as Trav was back on show in front of his home fans in Adelaide. Alex Carey 72 runs came out to the middle and batted superbly with his close mate Head as the local duo absolutely destroyed England. After being in the nervous 90s for a little bit, Travis Head scored his 4th Adelaide Oval Test century in a row, and from there all hell broke loose as Head and Kez dialed up the intensity, getting quick runs and scoring boundaries for the Aussies. These two local heroes in Adelaide ended the day in amazing fashion and started again the next day. After some more quality batting from this duo and a partnership worth 162 runs, England finally got the wicket of Head as he departed with a standing ovation from the Adelaide crowd. Carey would follow him shortly after, and he also got a standing ovation from the crowd. And from there, England picked up quick wickets. Brighton Cast, Jofra Archer and Josh Tongue would clean up the rest of the Australian batters, which was quite impressive considering the lead looked like going well over 500 runs. Australia would now need to defend 435 runs to win the Ashes and keep the urn on Australian soil. Innings 2, England. Needing a record run chase to stay in this Ashes, England had to go big, and things couldn't have started any better for the Australians as Pat Cummins removed Ben Duckett on 4 runs just before lunch. Cummins' dominance with the ball would continue as he also dismissed Ollie Pope on 17 runs. Zach Crawley 85 runs and Joe Root 39 runs got the Poms slightly back into this game, as the duo picked up 78 runs before Cummins once again impacted the game, taking out Root. Harry Brook 30 runs would be the new man to join Crawley in the middle, and like the previous partnership, these two were scoring well for the Poms before Nathan Lyon took out not only Brook, but Ben Stokes 5 runs 4 overs later with one of the great deliveries to give Australia control back in this game. Nathan Lyon would prove to be too much for Crawley as the Aussies were getting one step closer to keeping the earn. Will Jack's 47 runs and Jamie Smith's 60 runs would get England to stumps, as well as playing good cricket the next day and scoring consistent boundaries to give England a slight sniff of victory. After hitting multiple boundaries in a row, Smith played a terrible shot as he hit the ball straight to Pat Cummins, giving Australia a huge wicket. Gaz unfortunately tore his hamstring and left the ground with crutches, meaning his Ashes series has unfortunately come to an end. The Aussies now needed Jacks, and without their frontline spinner, that just wasn't the case for a while, as he got a 52-run partnership with the help of Bryden Carr's 39 runs not out, to get Australia's lead under 100 runs. Marnus Labuschagne got the huge breakthrough for Australia, taking an absolute screamer and one of the catches of the summer to dismiss Jacks. Mitchell Starc and Scott Boland got the last 2 wickets for Australia to not only win this test by 82 runs, but also win us the Ashes with 2 tests remaining. Game 4, MCG, Melbourne. After already securing the Ashes before Christmas, the Aussies have one goal in mind: clean sweep England and retain their 100% win record in this cycle of the World Test Championship. Pat Cummins, after helping Australia secure the 3rd test, will now be rested for the remainder of the series. Steve Smith returns to the side after recovering from an illness injury at the expense of Josh Inglis, meaning Smudge will get captaincy duties once again. Michael Neeson returns to the side for an injured Nathan Lyon, and Jai Richardson also returns for Australia for the first time in 4 years. England won the toss and elected to bowl first. Innings 1, Australia. It was a decent start for the Australians as Travis Head 12 runs and Jake Weatherall 10 runs got things moving early, until unfortunately Head chopped one onto the stumps, resulting in his wicket. Weatherall and Marnus Labuschagne 6 runs were into the sheds shortly after that as the Aussies were in some trouble. Captain Steve Smith 9 runs couldn't get going as he fell cheaply as well. Alex Carey 20 runs and Usman Khawaja 29 runs got the Australians to lunch, but things were not looking good. Straight after lunch it was the end of Khawaja, and a few overs later the same with Carey as the Poms were dominating. Cameron Green 17 runs and Michael Neeson 35 runs got things going, and the only 50-run partnership in this innings before Green made a silly decision to take a quick single, which resulted in his departure. Josh Tongue not only cleaned up Neeson, who was the only aggressive batsman, but local legend Scott Boland to go on a hat-trick going into the 2nd innings. Australia have a lead of 152 runs, which was well under par, and England will have a chance to have a bat in the 3rd session of day 1 and build on a lead. Innings 1, England. Needing to defend 152 runs, the Aussies got to work, and it paid off as Mitchell Starc removed Ben Duckett on 2 runs. The quick wickets would continue as Michael Neeson dismissed Jacob Bethel on 1 run and Joe Root on a duck. Starc would also remove Crawley on 5 runs. Harry Brook on 41 runs played aggressive cricket, which resulted in good runs for England before Scotty Boland took his first wicket, and let me tell you, the crowd at the MCG went absolutely crazy seeing their hero get to work. Boland would continue taking wickets as Jamie Smith and Will Jacks were both sent to the sheds from his bowling. Neeson got the huge wicket of Ben Stokes on 16 runs, and Scotty Boland would finish off the Poms as they went all out for 110 runs. Mind you, this was on the first day, which meant 20 wickets fell on this first day. Crazy stuff. Innings 2, Australia. With 1 over left in day 1, Australia opted to send out night watchman Scott Boland 6 runs, who played his role perfectly and even ended day 1 smashing a 4, which made the fans go wild. Day 2 started similar to day 1 with Boland and Travis Head 46 runs playing decent cricket before Boland unfortunately departed. However, he did his role perfectly the day before. The poor batting started up once Jake Weatherall 5 runs and Marnus Labuschagne 8 runs couldn't get going on the scoreboard. It was basically Head doing all the heavy lifting, and it didn't last long as he unfortunately fell 4 runs short of a half century. Steve Smith 24 runs not out would have been the man to get the Aussies to get a respectable total, but unfortunately he had no support as Usman Khawaja duck, Alex Carey 4 runs, Cameron Green 19 runs, Michael Neeson duck, and Mitchell Starc duck all went back to the sheds in just 10 overs. Jai Richardson 7 runs did his best playing some good shots, but strangely Steve Smith was giving him strike, which of course resulted in his wicket as the Aussies were all out for 132 runs and needed to defend a low total of 174 runs for victory. And this is only on day 2, which is just absolutely ridiculous if I'm being honest with you. Innings 2, England. Needing an extremely low total, the Poms got to work as Ben Duckett 34 runs and Zach Crawley 37 runs put up a 51-run opening partnership before Mitchell Starc closed on Ben Duckett's stumps. Ryden Carr, 6 runs, who was promoted up the order, went for a slog, but it didn't work as Jai Richardson took him out in a great moment for the future star of Australian cricket. Crawley and Jacob Bethel, 40 runs, put up a 47-run partnership before Scott Boland got the breakthrough of Crawley. Joe Root 15 runs and Bethel pretty much finished this game off for England before Boland once again got the G roaring as he took another wicket, getting rid of Bethel, who will be a future star of English cricket. Jai Richardson got his second wicket, taking out Joe Root, and Starkey continued his domination over Ben Stokes, dismissing him on just 2 runs. But it just wasn't enough as Harry Brook, 18 runs not out, and Jamie Smith, 3 runs not out, finished the game off to hand England their first win on Australian soil in over 5,000 days, or for short, 15 years. Game 5, SCG, Sydney. It's the New Year's Test in Sydney, as well as a game dedicated to the McGrath Foundation, which you should always donate to every year. For the Aussies, this game is all about the World Test Championship percentage and keeping that top spot. Bo Webster finally returns to the side at the expense of Jai Richardson, and surprisingly, no specialist spinner was picked at the SCG for the first time in 138 years. This is also the final test for Usman Khawaja before he retires. Thank you for everything, Uzi. England won the toss and elected to bat first. Innings 1, England. It was an even start to this test match as Zach Crawley 16 runs and Ben Duckett 27 runs got the 35-run partnership before Mitchell Starc removed Duckett. Michael Neser and Scott Boland then took 2 quick wickets for the Australians, dismissing Crawley and Jacob Bethel on 10 runs. Joe Root 160 runs and Harry Brook 84 runs both came out to the middle and absolutely dominated before the rain had to halt play for the remainder of the first day. This 169-run partnership would eventually end when Boland took out Brook. Starkey followed with a wicket, removing his bunny Ben Stokes on a duck before Root and Jamie Smith, 46 runs, put up a 94-run partnership before Jamie Smith played the most brain-dead shot of the summer, meaning Marnus Labuschagne of all people would get a wicket under his name. Joe Root was looking classy, but no one could stick around with him, as Michael Neser took out Will Jacks on 27 runs. From there, the Aussies absolutely dominated as Cameron Green and Michael Neser cleaned up everyone, including Joe Root, who got a standing ovation for his 160 runs. The Aussies bowled England all out for 384 runs, a score which is under par, so the Aussies would be confident they could get a lead. Innings 1, Australia. The Aussies had a good start to their innings as Travis Head 163 runs and Jake Weatherall 21 runs put up a 57-run opening partnership before Weatherall, like a lot of innings this summer, had to depart. Marnus Labuschagne 48 runs went out to the middle and gave Heady a helping hand as this duo, like they so often do, put up a great partnership, this time 105 runs, before Marnus unfortunately fell 2 runs short of a half century. And it was just before stumps, meaning Michael Neser 24 runs came out to the middle as the night watchman. It really was a sensational first hour the next day as Head got to his 3rd ton this summer and his first at the SCG, as well as Neser looking settled, as this duo put 72 runs on the board before Neser had to go. Captain Steve Smith, 138 runs, was the next man in the middle, and he just played beautiful test cricket if I'm being completely honest. Unfortunately, Head had to go, but what a knock it truly was from Travis Head as Australia have found their next test opener. Usman Khawaja and Alex Carey came and went on low scores of 17 and 16, but that wouldn't stop Smudge as he was absolutely locked in, pointing out distractions left, right and centre, including a lady getting an ice cream near the sight screen. Classic Smudge really, if I'm being honest with you. Cameron Green, 37 runs in desperate need to silence the critics, went out there and played some solid test cricket with Smudge, as this duo got 71 runs before Green, like Green always does, had to throw his wicket. Bo Webster, 71 runs not out, was the next man to the crease, and with Smudge they got to work, getting 107 runs in the middle together. During this partnership, Steve Smith got to his 37th test century, as well as the second highest Ashes run scorer of all time, behind Sir Donald Bradman. The two got to stumps easily for the Aussies as they had the lead. Smudge unfortunately had to go as he got a standing ovation from the crowd, but after that the Aussies collapsed around Big Bo Webster, meaning that he couldn't get a test century, as Australia went all out for 567 runs. Innings 2, England. It was a really good start for the Aussies as Mitchell Starc took out Zach Crawley on 1 run. After a decent partnership between Ben Duckett 42 runs and Jacob Bethel 154 runs, it was Michael Neser who removed the extremely disappointing Ben Duckett out. Scott Boland removed an unsettled Joe Root on 6 runs as the Aussies were back on top. However, a 102-run partnership between Bethel and Harry Brook 42 runs would occur before Big Bo Webster got an absolutely beautiful wicket as he not only got Brook but also got Will Jacks on a duck. Jamie Smith, 27 runs, got some quick runs on the board but couldn't stick around with Bethel as Weatherall ran him out. Ben Stokes, 1 run, and Brighton Carr, 16 runs, fell to Bo Webster and Scott Boland as England were in trouble. Bethel and Matthew Potts, 18 runs not out, did their best to steady the ship, but once Mitchell Starc took out Bethel, it was pretty much innings over, as the Aussies needed 160 runs to win the Ashes 4-1. Innings 2, Australia. Needing a tricky total on a deteriorating day 5 wicket, Travis Head, 29 runs, and Jake Weatherall, 34 runs, got to work, getting 62 runs before Head had to go. Weatherall's disappointing summer would continue as he went out. Marnus Labuschagne, 37 runs, and Steve Smith, 12 runs, would try and steady the ship, but Smudge had to go on a great ball from Will Jacks. Usman Khawaja's career would end on a poor score of 6 runs off 7 balls, 6-7.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
What would make matters worse for the Aussies was Marnus getting run out after pushing for a 2 that Alex Carey, 16 runs not out, didn't want to take, meaning the Palms were well and truly in this game. After some questionable running from Cameron Green, 22 runs not out, and Carey, they managed to get the Aussies home as they got the last 40 runs together, and Kez finished the game and the series with a 4. As the Aussies won the Ashes 4-1, and it was never in doubt really, was it? Never in doubt. Too easy for the Australians. What an Ashes series it truly was. It was high stakes entertainment. Although it was disappointing that we had two-day test matches, but besides that, it was a really dominant series from the Aussies, as Mitchell Starc was the man of the series. He got 31 wickets across 5 matches, and he really stepped up without Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood to help him. I was also really happy that we gave Michael Neser another crack, as he played extremely well, and he even stepped up to the occasion to absolute perfection, if I'm being honest. How good was Trav Ball and Travis Head, as he had an amazing series opening the batting with 3 tons and 629 runs on the board, as well as Alex Carey, who is the best keeper in the world in my opinion, taking 27 catches this series, as well as keeping to the stumps with Scott Boland and Michael Neser bowling rockets, so that's actually really impressive. And if I'm being honest, like, no other keeper could do that, in my opinion. It was also good that he got a ton in front of his home fans in Adelaide. Also, how good is it smashing the cocky, unprepared, Noosa-loving Palms 4-1 and winning the Ashes before Christmas? Just amazing, isn't it? All in all, what a great series if you're an Aussie, as we showed the Palms who's boss and who owns them, as we keep our hands on the Ashes urn for another 2 years before we go back to England and hopefully destroy them again. Thanks for watching, guys, and until the next one, cheers, go the Aussies!